My sister's son sent me a list titled Things You Owe Me. It included a PS5 $600 cash and my old car. I replied, "Oh you?" He said, "You'll regret it if you don't." I didn't reply again. I just did this. The subject line was, "Things You Owe Me." Came from my nephew Tyler. He's 19 in college, and for the past 2 years I've been quietly covering most of his tuition. His mom, my sister Julie, hasn't worked in over a year, and she's been relying on me to keep things afloat. I never made a big deal about it. I just stepped in because someone had to. But this email? It wasn't a thank you. It was a demand. The list was short but insane. PS5. $600 cash. Your old car. I just sat there staring at it. Then I scrolled and saw what he'd written under the list. You owe me. Don't play dumb. You'll regret it if you don't. At first I didn't know what to think. I felt this weird mix of disgust and curiosity. Did he seriously believe this would work? I replied with 2 words. "Owe you?" His response came within minutes. "You know why? Pay up or I'll tell everyone what you did." And that's when I realized he wasn't just being a spoiled brat. He was threatening me. There's only one thing he could be referring to, a mistake I made 10 years ago. It's not criminal, but it's personal. Embarrassing, especially in my family. I'd told Julie in confidence, during one of those vulnerable moments where you think blood means loyalty. Now her son was trying to blackmail me with it. That night I couldn't sleep. Not because I was afraid, but because of how confident he sounded. That kind of attitude doesn't just come out of nowhere. He must have done this before. Or he thought he had leverage. Either way, it meant he was used to getting what he wanted by manipulation. And I started wondering how much of that came from Julie. I've always known my sister had a complicated sense of entitlement. She used to joke about how she should have married richer, or how lucky I was to have no responsibilities. But lately it had turned into something uglier. She stopped thanking me for the help. She started acting like she deserved it. Now her kid was threatening me like I was some kind of bank that needed pressure to cough up more. I didn't reply again. I just shut my laptop and started thinking. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized this wasn't just about Tyler. This was about boundaries I should have set a long time ago. I'd been paying for their life. But they'd been quietly building a case against me. I was done playing nice. So the next morning I made 2 phone calls. One to the bursar's office at Tyler's college and one to my bank. The payments were done. The transfers were canceled. And then I drove straight to Julie's house, ready to say things I probably should have said years ago. But I wasn't ready for what she said back. Julie opened the door like she had been expecting me, even though I hadn't called. She didn't say hi. She just stepped aside and let me in like I was some delivery she had been waiting for. Her living room looked the same as always. Clutter everywhere, unopened mail on the coffee table, a stack of dishes in the kitchen sink. It struck me how long I'd been helping and how little had changed. I didn't bother sitting down. I told her right away that I had canceled Tyler's tuition payments and would no longer be sending money for rent, groceries, utilities, anything. It wasn't a speech. It wasn't emotional. It was just the truth that had been simmering for too long. She stared at me like I'd slapped her. Then she asked why. I told her exactly why. I told her about the email, the list, the threat. And I said that if this was the kind of person her son had become, then I had been enabling something I should have been stopping. She didn't deny the email. She didn't act shocked. She didn't even look confused. She just shrugged. It was like watching a mask slip. I realized in that moment that she wasn't surprised at all. And the only reason someone wouldn't be surprised is if they already knew. I asked her directly if Tyler had told her. Her reaction was so flat it made my stomach twist. She said it wasn't a big deal, that teenagers say stupid things and that I was overreacting. Then she added that I shouldn't make a mountain out of something I could easily fix by just giving him what he wanted. I couldn't believe she said that. Not because it was outrageous, but because she said it like it was normal. Then she threw something at me that showed her true hand. She said that since I make good money, helping family isn't optional, it's expected. She said I had more than enough, so why was I suddenly acting greedy? And then she said that if I didn't want people pulling out old stories, maybe I shouldn't have told them in the first place. That last part hit the spot she wanted. And it confirmed everything. She had told him. She had given him the idea. She had handed him my secret and pointed him in my direction like it was a weapon. I felt something in me drop. Not anger. Not shock. Just this heavy realization that the person I'd trusted most in my family had been using me the entire time, and now she was willing to let her son do the same. I didn't argue with her. I didn't raise my voice. I just told her I was done, really done, and that I'd be talking to our parents. The moment I said that, she changed. Her face tightened. She told me not to drag them into it, that they didn't need to know every little family disagreement. And then she said something I'll never forget. She said that if our parents found out, she'd make sure they heard my secret first. Her own sister. Ready to humiliate me to protect her access to my bank account. I walked out without another word. On the drive to my parents' house, my hands were shaking, not from fear but from the shock of realizing how long Julie must have been planning this. When I got to my parents' place, I didn't ease into it. I told them everything, every detail, and the look on their faces didn't just show hurt. It showed disbelief that Julie had sunk this low. What I didn't expect was what happened next when Tyler found out what I'd done. It was barely 24 hours after I left my parents' house when Tyler showed up at my place. No warning, no text, just pounding on my door like the building was on fire. When I opened it, he looked like he hadn't slept. His hoodie was wrinkled, eyes bloodshot, mouth twitching like he couldn't decide whether to yell or beg. He didn't wait to be invited in. He just walked past me and started pacing in my living room. He didn't come with an apology. He came with excuses. He said it was just a joke. Said I took it too seriously. Said he didn't really mean to threaten me. That he and his friends were messing around and the email wasn't supposed to be that deep. Then he told me that since I pulled the tuition payments, he was being dropped from his classes. That they had no money left for rent. That they'd already used the last of what I sent them last month. And that his mom hadn't worked in over a year because she'd been counting on me. I didn't say much. I let him talk. I let him scramble. And that's when the cracks started to show. He said, "Mom told me everything. About what you did. She said if I used it the right way you'd cave. She told me you wouldn't want anyone knowing about that." I stayed quiet. He kept going. He said she came up with the idea. That she told him it wasn't really blackmail if it was just family pressure. That this was the only way to keep things going without her needing to get a job. She said it wouldn't even take much, just a little reminder of the past and I'd fold. I asked him why he went along with it. He didn't have an answer right away. He just sat down, rubbed his face and said, because she made it sound like it was normal. Like this is what family does when one person's doing better than everyone else. And for a second I saw it, that he wasn't just some entitled kid. He was the result of years of his mother justifying bad behavior. She'd raised him to believe that manipulation was just a version of strategy. That guilt was currency. That family meant access, not respect. He asked if I'd reconsider. If I'd call the school and fix it. If I'd send something, anything, because he had no backup plan and nowhere to go. He said his mom was talking about moving back in with our parents if things got worse. That last part sealed it. I told him I had already spoken to our parents. That they knew everything now. Including who started it, who weaponized it, and who took part in it. I told him not to show up at their house unless he was ready to explain his part. He didn't say anything after that. Just sat there, blinking like he'd finally realized he was in deeper than he'd ever been before. He left without another word. Just walked out and let the door close behind him. I thought that was the end of it. But then the messages started coming in from extended family. Cousins and uncle in Ohio, even my aunt in Florida. They'd all gotten calls from Julie. And she had told her version of the story. The first call I got was from my cousin Melanie in Phoenix. She left a voicemail that started polite but turned sharp halfway through. Said she hoped it wasn't true, that I'd turned my back on family just because I was doing a little better these days. That she didn't want to pick sides but felt like I owed Julie more than I was admitting. I didn't even have time to respond before the text started. 2 of my mom's sisters messaged me, both clearly trying to fish for my side without outright accusing me. Then came the Facebook post. Passive-aggressive quotes about family betrayal. About selfish people who forget who was there for them when they were at their worst. I don't use Facebook much, but even I could read between the lines. Julie had spun a story. A neat little fiction where I was the ungrateful sister who cut off her struggling family to go live a shiny life alone, untouched and indifferent. In her version, I was punishing a teenager over a misunderstanding. A cruel, cold-hearted woman who let her own nephew get kicked out of college because of hurt feelings. She didn't mention the blackmail. She didn't mention the email. She definitely didn't mention the fact that she had coached her son on how to use a secret against me. I could have stayed quiet, let people believe what they wanted. But something about this, the calculation of it, the way she preemptively ran to the family to poison the well, made me realize she wasn't just trying to defend herself. She was trying to destroy me first. So I picked up the phone and called my parents. I told them I needed them to gather the family, the whole family. A call. A meeting. Something where everyone could hear the truth at once. They agreed. I think they were just as tired of Julie's games as I was. That Saturday we did a video call. 14 people. Scattered across different states, but all connected by blood and that familiar, suffocating sense of obligation. Julie joined too. I didn't waste time. I shared screenshots of the email from Tyler. The list. His message. His threat. Then I read aloud the message he sent after, admitting where the idea came from. She tried to interrupt. Claimed it was fake. That I had made it all up because I didn't want to help anymore. She even said I was manipulating her son's words and twisting everything to make her look bad. That's when my dad cut in. He told everyone what I'd told him and Mom earlier. That this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was manipulation. And that Julie had crossed a line no one in the family should ever cross. She had used private pain for profit. And then, right there on the call, something happened I didn't expect. Tyler joined the meeting. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. His voice was shaky, but he spoke. He said it was all true. Every part of it. He said he didn't even know what the secret meant until his mom explained it and told him how to use it. That she had said it was just motivation. That it wasn't really blackmail unless money was involved. And since he was asking for gifts, it didn't count. He said he hated what he'd done. That he didn't even understand how wrong it was until everything fell apart. That he wasn't asking for forgiveness. Just that people knew he hadn't come up with it alone. Julie went dead silent. Then she left the call. The room was quiet for a long time. Nobody really knew what to say. My uncle muttered something about needing to process this. My cousin Melanie texted me after and apologized. So did a few others. But my parents, they just looked tired. Not angry. Not emotional. Just like two people who had watched something break in front of them that couldn't be fixed. After that call, things changed fast. Julie was cut off from everyone. Not by some big announcement, but by silence. No more birthday calls. No invites. No check-ins. Tyler dropped out of school and moved in with a friend across town. He called me once more after that. But not to ask for help. About 2 weeks after the video call, I got a number I didn't recognize ringing my phone around 10 at night. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something told me to pick up. It was Tyler. He didn't sound like the same person who had walked into my apartment demanding money and making threats. His voice was quiet, almost hesitant. He said he got a part-time job at a car wash and was crashing on a friend's couch. That his mom wasn't speaking to him anymore because he betrayed her in front of the family. He said he knew I probably hated him. That he wasn't expecting anything. But then he asked something I didn't expect. He asked if I thought he was like her. If he was too far gone. If he had any chance at fixing who he was becoming. I didn't know what to say right away. The question hit harder than anything else he'd said before. Not because I had the answer, but because it was the first time I felt like I was actually talking to him, not the version she had raised. I told him that who we are isn't what we've done. It's what we choose to do next. That messing up doesn't make you broken. But refusing to own it does. He didn't cry, but I could hear something shift in his voice. Then he said something that stuck with me. He said, "She made me feel like you were just some machine. Like your life didn't have a cost. That it was nothing to you to give and give." I didn't even think about what it meant to threaten someone with something that personal. She made it seem like it wasn't a big deal. But it was. I told him he didn't owe me anything. But if he ever really wanted to make things right, it had to start with not becoming her. That was the last time we spoke. We haven't talked since. No texts, no calls. Just silence. But a different kind of silence than the one I got from Julie. His was heavy but honest. Like he was doing the work somewhere, quietly without asking for applause. As for Julie, she vanished from the family overnight. She didn't show up at Thanksgiving. Didn't respond to Christmas messages. Nobody reached out to her. No one even said her name. It was like we had all agreed without agreeing. We'd given her chance after chance, and this time the damage was too deep. The thing about family is we're told to endure, to tolerate, to excuse. But there's a point where love without respect turns into obligation without end. I reached that point and I didn't feel guilty for it. But I did feel sad. Sad that it had to come to this. Sad that she chose to weaponize trust. Sad that I spent years helping someone who saw kindness as leverage. I thought cutting her off would feel like revenge. It didn't. It felt like peace. After everything, there was still one loose thread. The secret. The thing Julie had armed Tyler with. The thing she thought could control me. For weeks after the fallout, I kept waiting for it to come out. I watched the family group chats for a sudden shift in tone, waited for some distant cousin to message me with concern. But it never happened. She hadn't told anyone. Maybe it was pride. Maybe she thought if she couldn't use it to gain power over me, it wasn't worth throwing away. Or maybe, and this is what I've come to believe, she always knew the secret wasn't the threat. I was. Because I had survived it once already. It happened 10 years ago. I was 25, still figuring things out, trying to keep up appearances after a bad breakup, a failed job, and some reckless decisions that left me with more debt than dignity. I forged a document to get approved for an apartment. Just a pay stub edited. Stupid. Legal. I only lived there for 6 months before I found a better job and moved on. I never got caught. I never repeated it. I told Julie during a drunken night of confession, thinking she was still the kind of sister who'd carry secrets, not sell them. When I made it out of that mess, out of that phase into the life I have now, I buried that mistake. I didn't forget it, but I let it stay in the past. Julie never brought it up again. Until Tyler. Knowing that's what she used against me is what made this whole thing unforgivable. It wasn't just about money. It wasn't just about greed. It was about control. She saw the one moment in my life where I'd been vulnerable and she saved it like a weapon. But here's the part she never understood. I'm not ashamed of it anymore. I'm not proud either. But I'm not the same girl who made that decision. And I'm definitely not the woman who can be threatened with her own past. I've talked to a lawyer since then. Asked questions. Got clarity. Legally, it's old enough and minor enough that it wouldn't amount to anything even if it did come out. But more importantly, it reminded me how far I've come. Tyler tried to weaponize it because Julie handed him the script. But when the moment came to actually follow through, he flinched. Because deep down, he knew what she didn't. I was never the one in danger of being exposed. She was. Exposed as a manipulator. A user. A mother who taught her son to exploit, not to grow. That's what the family saw. And that's why they stopped answering her calls, one by one. As for me, I'm still standing. Still working. Still living in the same apartment she once tried to take from me with a story I gave her in confidence. I sleep better now. I don't look over my shoulder. And I don't feel guilty for drawing the line. Sometimes people confuse generosity with weakness. They think if you give without strings, you must not know how to fight back. But the truth is, we're not afraid of confrontation. We're just tired of fixing people who never wanted to be better. And once we stop fixing them, they fall apart all on their own.